Welcome to Andy Ari On3, presented by Culver's. It has been a weird couple of weeks in college football, and I think on today's show, I think that we can put a bow on the Nico Iamaleava saga. I think we can. I think every move that could be made has been made now. Am I wrong?
We'll put a bow on the Nico saga in terms of all the movement.
Correct. No, we'll obviously follow it.
Is on top of the present, which is the gift that we'll keep giving throughout the offseason and into the season. Is that a good analogy?
Yes, I think so. So if you weren't here for our emergency show last night, we talked extensively about the trade. There was a guy in the chat. It's like, it's not really a trade, you know. Yeah, we know, but it's funny because it looks like a trade. It looks like Tennessee traded Nico to UCLA for Joey Aguilar in cash is what it looks like. But so we know that's happened. For those who weren't paying attention yesterday, Joey Aguilar was the quarterback who went from Appalachian State to UCLA. When Nico transferred from Tennessee to UCLA, Joey Aguilar suddenly didn't have a job. Joey Aguilar hops in the portal on Monday morning. By Monday night, he committed to Tennessee. So now it's not a straight one-for-one starter swap because I don't think Joey Aguilar is being handed the starting job at Tennessee. I think he's got to compete with Jake Merklinger and George McIntyre. But it is truly bizarre how all this has gone down. Truly bizarre.
Yeah. Yes, and Nico's brothers got roped into it too. Like it's
yes. The other news. So while we were on the emergency show, it was reported by CBS Sports that Madden Iamaleava, Nico's younger brother, was entering the transfer portal. Now he was at Arkansas. He initially had committed to UCLA, but he flipped to Arkansas on signing day. Now we find out later Monday night, shocks of shocks, Madden is headed to UCLA. So Big Nick Iamaleava, the dad, his master plan is now coming to focus. He's got both brothers together at UCLA, which is home for them. They're from Southern California. So it's all come into focus now.
Yeah, it's like outside of the financial implications of what Nico did and how he's probably not going to be coming out of this situation, whole money-wise, it does seem like everybody is kind of winning here to a certain extent. Like UCLA gets Nico and Nico's brother, Madden, and maybe something for the future that they can be excited about. Nico gets to return home, try a new journey as he tries to repair, his image and, get back on track in the NFL draft discourse, and then of course, Tennessee was able to find somebody who's got years of starting experience that can come in and try to stabilize the room. And they may save some money on top of it. Maybe they'll get active in the portal with some of that extra cash. So I don't know if you think this is a happy ending. I think from Nico's standpoint, like the decision to rock the boat probably
there's no happy. I don't know how these NIL deals get paid, but I'm just going to go with the whole every other Friday thing. There's no happy every other Friday because every other Friday is going to be significantly less.
Yeah,
than it was in Knoxville.
I just mean from like a fan standpoint. Like I know they're probably pleased with what happened financially, but like in terms of like what we get to pay attention to and what talk about, and then the storylines that are gonna, come out as a result of this is all kind of interesting stuff. And I don't think that like Nico is cooked as a draft prospect either. So we'll see how it all plays out. But like, man, that was a really fun 25-minute show we did last night. If you want to hear more about our instant reaction to the news that Nico is not only going to UCLA, but that Joey Aguilar's to Tennessee, like we went 25 minutes on YouTube, and it's in the podcast feed too, right, Andy?
It is. So wherever you get your podcasts, also, I do worry, and we didn't talk about this last night. I do worry that we are building Joey Aguilar into something that maybe he's not, because he didn't ask to be part of this. He sort of got plunged into this thing. So I think the assumption is, and we got so excited because it's such a weird situation, but the assumption I think with a lot of people is he's going to go to Tennessee and automatically be the starter. That's not the case. And maybe he wins the job, maybe he doesn't. But I think we might be setting him up for a little bit of disappointment here because we've built this whole thing up like, oh, he's gonna come in and do the funniest thing ever.
Yeah, so like there's two things that you could be falsely, or I could be, or we could be falsely building here, which is one, his impact on Tennessee's program, because we don't know how it's going to go. But that said, I saw the reports of what Tennessee is reportedly going to be paying him, and it's 7 figures apparently.
It's basically what UCLA was paying him.
So I don't know that you make that deal without the intention of relying on him in a big way. I don't know if relying on him in a big way is a big net or a small net. Depends on how you want to look at it. But like I felt like that is probably more than the other two on Tennessee's roster are making at the moment. And if they're making that payment, like, follow the money, to me, I feel like a lot of times too, it's just like we can turn this into a 3-month debate about whether or not he's going to start there, or we can just follow what the money says is going to happen, which is probably a pretty foolproof plan. But then on the other hand, too, there is the false buildup of Joey Aguilar potentially of who he is as a player and whether he's even good enough to do the things that Tennessee fans are hoping for. I watched his highlights and some of his tape last night, and I think he's a nice player. I don't know that they're getting like Joe Montana, but I thought that the comparison that I made on the show and in the column that I wrote it on 3 was a fair one, which is like a pesky, passionate, fun player who could play somewhat like Diego Pavia. I don't know, production wise.
Yeah, I mean, he's a gunslinger. He will make some throws that are like, ooh, yes, no, yes. He'll do that. He'll also throw some picks because he'll try to throw the ball into places that maybe it shouldn't go. But very similar. Like if you want to get worried about it, watch his game against Clemson last year. If you would like to get excited, watch his game against North Carolina from 2023. Like that's kind of how it goes. Like it's up and down. You don't exactly know what you're going to get. Now, obviously, Appalachian State last year was 5-6. They got their coach fired. It was the worst Appalachian State team in a long time. So bear in mind that what's around him is not, in that case, not as good as it had been. The 2023 Appalachian State team was pretty good, played for the Sun Belt title. So he had a better year with better teammates. We'll see how that goes. He's going to have better teammates at Tennessee than he had at Appalachian State, but the competition level obviously rises significantly.
The thing I was going to say is that, like, he probably didn't have the best game in the world against Clemson, but like, you also have to take the context into account of like, he's not playing with enough good players that are able to match up with, Clemson physically, and I think that like in games like that, like, cause he played quite well against North Carolina. Right.
Oh yeah. Well, but that was a better team he was playing on when he played North Carolina too.
Yeah.
He had better teammates then.
So, but that's what I'm saying though. It's like North Carolina wasn't as good as Clemson, and his team was better, so he played better. You know what I mean? Like there's
and well, that Appalachian State North Carolina game. Actually, I'll take that back. The Appalachian State North Carolina game I'm thinking of that was crazy was this year. So that was with this team. That game will melt your face.
Was that the
game?
Just
watch it again.
Was that the game that had like 30 points scored in the last 3 minutes or something?
That was the 2023 one. So that one will absolutely just melt you down.
It's like 35 points scored with like
it was like 70 points in the fourth quarter between the two teams. It was insane. It was
something insane like that. But yeah, no. So like the thing is that the one thing that I will say, and maybe this is more of a theatrical thing than it is a tactical thing, but for a minute there, Tennessee lost their quarterback and they were in like on their heels a little bit, right? Like,
right.
Now we lost somebody that we thought we were counting on. We have two freshmen, one's redshirt on the team right now that we can turn to, but that would be a reactionary, move if they were to go to one of those two. So when you bring somebody else in, that becomes more offensive. And when that person plays like a gunslinger with starting experience, I think that by itself bodes quite well for a team that's trying to get back on offense. Does that make sense? And you're doing it with somebody who's played and somebody who will throw the ball in the wrong spot sometime, but damn it, he's going to throw the ball. And like, that's the type of personality that you want to stabilize things, in my opinion. You don't want to be passive. You want to be aggressive. And I think that this is an aggressive move, as aggressive as you could have been outside of like going out and getting Hoover from TCU in order to try to right the ship.
Which I think they tried to do. I do think they tried to knock somebody loose who was an established starting quarterback. It wasn't, I don't think it was just Josh Hoover. I think they probably looked around at a lot of people, but most people weren't moving. They already had good deals. They were comfortable in their offenses. They were comfortable with their teammates. Like there's a lot. And also I think a lot of it is with the Josh Hoover types, the ones who probably got approached, they don't want to come off looking like Nico came off.
Right. Right.
And there's an amount of money that they're willing to give up to not look like that.
Yeah. I feel like this is different. And I don't know if you want to go down this road, but I feel like if somebody knocks on your door and offers you a huge raise and you take the money, that is not the same thing as pounding your fist on the table for more when it isn't being offered to you and then leaving if you don't get it. Like, I don't know.
It's definitely not the same. It's not. But
yeah,
you'd still be hated by that fan base that you left for more money, regardless of the circumstances.
But I think that happens all the time. Like, that's not a unique, like what happened with Nico is unique. That wouldn't be unique. That would just be business. So there is if you're getting an extra $1 million, I think you could live with TCU's fans hating you for a while. Like, it's just like, that's not the way. Like,
but he didn't take it. I'm assuming TCU has boosters with money too. So I'm assuming.
Man, I know what's going on out there. But like the,
you think Monty kicked some in?
Yeah. But the thing that's different about that hypothetical, Andy, is that TCU fans would hate Hoover. Like, I think there's a large contingent of general fans that aren't involved with UCLA or Tennessee that dislike him because they think he represents what's bad about the sport.
You mean Nico?
Yes, Nico. Yeah.
I agree.
A completely different scenario. And Nico, right or wrong, is going to have to, live with that image of money hungry person who doesn't love or isn't loyal to the team because he wanted to get paid more and then acted irrationally in order to try to get that money and shot himself in the foot. Like, that is such a different ball game than player gets unexpected raise and takes offer. Like, because like if getting an unexpected raise and taking an offer means that you're a bad guy, then I guess I'm the Athletic hates me and everybody that works there views me as a traitor and that I didn't care about.
Well, they do. Like, I mean, that's absolutely true. You didn't know that? I
mean, I ate lunch with Chris Vanini the other day. I don't think he hates me.
He still hates you. I mean, you bought him lunch.
Actually, he paid.
Oh, wrestling podcast money coming through.
Keep your enemies close, I guess. I don't know.
I do think I agree with you. I think people are more understanding about. Yeah. I got offered a financial windfall that I was not seeking.
Right.
But I had to consider it.
Neither of us were seeking it.
I was seeking it.
No, you were seeking it. You're a bad guy here. I'm good. I'm the good cop. You're the bad cop always.
I'm the bag getter. That's why I'm going out for the biggest bag. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, but you were also like coming up at the point in time of your contract where that was necessary too. So like,
I had no choice. Yeah, it's sort of defending yourself at that point. Like, I wasn't on a contract where I had a year left, possibly 2 years left, with a very lucrative amount coming my way. But that's but we've all faced those situations.
I don't think anybody in journalism hates you or thinks you're a scumbag. That's the point I'm making. Like, I don't think that anybody would think that Josh Hoover's a scumbag if you would have taken a bigger offer.
But the TCU fans would have been mad, and it's cool. It's okay.
Yeah, because they're the ones who got divorced. Of course.
Yeah.
That's the same thing. It's like if you left your wife, would everybody in your neighborhood hate you? No, your wife.
Oh, yeah. Well, they'd realize I was the one who messed up. So
yeah. you get what I'm saying. Like, it's like it's all about context.
Guys, if you're watching on Twitter, it's time to join us on YouTube. The link just below the link you're watching will take you right there. You can join the chat. Very lively chat as usual. We've got the usual suspects in the chat. We got Zach. We got Sharice. We got Goat Dog. I love our chat. It's so much fun. So join.
We care about the chat. We want you on YouTube because we care about the chat. We interact with the chat, and the chat helps guide us sometimes. Sometimes it derails us, but we're working on it. But if you're over here on YouTube where you belong, you're not watching.
Willie.
Yeah, I feel like when you watch on Twitter, you're watching through a chain link fence. Jump over the fence and be at the party. Okay?
Yeah, it's sort of like the old days when you had cable and the pay-per-view movies would come on and it's the fuzzies and you're watching through the fuzzies. Don't watch through the fuzzies. Watch in full color.
I don't ever remember watching a regular movie through the fuzzies.
I was not going there, Ari. You took it there. Okay, so the Madden Iamaleava piece of this I find fascinating too, because we'd heard this might be a package deal when UCLA was one of the schools that was named initially, even before Nico actually left Tennessee. And that was one of the first things that I remember talking to Pete Nakos about this, and he called folks at UCLA very quickly when all this started going down and said, hey, would you guys actually be interested in Madden coming to you? Because he did flip on you on signing day. And they said, no, we're cool with that. Yeah, we'd happily take them both. So that part of it, we weren't sure initially, but once we found out they were good with taking them both, it seemed like that was the next logical step in the deal.
Yeah. And I don't know the context here, because Madden certainly wasn't a prospect that was sought after as highly as
it wasn't like Nico, no.
But I still think that this is a pretty good, if Nico didn't exist and they would have picked up Madden Iamaleava on his own merits, you would feel good about that if you're UCLA. I think that is a nice addition to their roster, and the hope is that they'll develop together and he'll be ready to go when Nico's on his way out.
Yeah, I think that's the plan. That certainly is what they would like to see. And it would be nice for them because you have a succession plan. If Nico has a really good year this year, then Nico's going to the NFL. If Nico doesn't have a great year this year, then you have other conversations to be had because potentially he comes back. But I am fascinated by this. Again, Utah right out of the gate. Utah is one of those teams I'm very intrigued about this season, Ari, because they were unusually bad last season. Kyle Whittingham teams aren't typically bad. They were unusually bad, had terrible quarterback injury luck. I think the whole situation with Cam Rising and his knee going back to the Rose Bowl a few years ago, kind of derailed them for a couple seasons. If they're back to being Utah, they're going to be good. Then you've got UNLV with Dan Mullen taking over. Dan Mullen is a good coach. Mm-hmm. Say what you will about his recruiting at Florida, but his on-field coaching has never been in doubt.
Right. Yeah. UCLA is a fascinating team playing some fascinating games, and they've got some big boys on their schedule too. They are going to be a fixture of the conversation this fall.
Yeah.
And the thing that's going to be awesome too, Andy, is they're going to be playing games when we're live.
Oh yeah.
So we'll have Nico on the
think about that. You're right.
Yeah.
When we're doing the wrap-up shows, there's gonna be quite a few times where we'll be doing a wrap-up show while watching UCLA games. So watching Nico live. This is I hadn't even thought about that. That adds another layer to this. Because I don't know about you. I love that game so much, not just because it's on when we're on, but also when we go off the air, which is usually around halftime of that game. I just love to sit and soak in the day and watch one football game. I love it. I love those games.
Yeah, I'm usually chasing at midnight that night, but you're over here can you believe what happened?
I'm pouring
can you believe that?
I'm pouring 2 fingers of Michter's and just chilling here. You're I gotta get back what I lost.
Yeah, you're oh my god, I can't believe what happened. I'm oh my god, I can't believe what happened in a very different way.
I can't wait. I'm so excited for this college football season. Later in the show, we're going to talk about 10 new starting quarterbacks that don't have a lot of film. One who has a lot of film, but it's at the FCS level. Everybody else has very little film, period. That I am pumped. And some of these guys are going to be stars. We're going to talk about that later in the show. First, I got to tell about what we're doing this week. So we are presented by Culver's because we are headed to the draft. We're going to Green Bay this week. We're actually flying up tomorrow. We're going to be at the Great Wisconsin Tailgate presented by Culver's Thursday and Friday across the street from Lambeau Field. We're going to have tailgate games. We're going to have giveaways. We'll have very special guests. We got some guests coming that are confirmed that we think are going to get picked in the first round. Very excited about that. So I think a couple of these guys may be hugging Roger Goodell and then coming over to see us. Hopefully we'll have frozen custard ready for them.
Yeah. I mean, like, can you think of a better way to celebrate being drafted than frozen custard? Like, I mean, like, I don't know. What do you think it is? Like,
So I put up a poll on Twitter today of which frozen custard should I eat today. The Skittles popped concrete mixer looks like absolute fire. I have not tried that one yet. I had an Oreo shake the other day. Unbelievable. But the Skittles, I got to do the Skittles pop concrete mixer now. And listen, ButterBurgers will be had. So join us at the Culver's Great Wisconsin Tailgate in Green Bay, April 24th and 25th. That's Thursday and Friday. We'll be out there getting you ready for the draft on Thursday. We'll be doing our regular show Thursday morning. We'll be doing our Friday morning show recapping round 1. It's going to be spectacular. I cannot wait. I love the draft. It's one of my favorite events of the year. And I cannot believe we get to celebrate it with Culver's. So Ari, get ready. Pack warm.
Just thinking about the fish sandwich too that we're not talking about enough. They've got a really good fish sandwich. Yes, I can't wait. I don't know what to pack because the weather is going to be cold, but I want to look good. You know, you're going to have to will you send me some mirror selfies later of like what you're wearing?
Yeah. We'll just send those out to the chat too. I think that they'll get a kick out of that.
Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to it. And
do we need to have we need to start a Discord or something with the members of our chat?
Yeah.
So that we can just have instead of the group text conversation you and me and producer River have all day, every day, we need to get the chat into that and just let them chat with us all day.
Yeah, then we can truly be ourselves. I got a pair of shoes I might dust off this week that are sitting over there. You want me to go get them? Want me to reveal them to you? I think you're going to like them.
Sure. Yeah, let's see. Let's see. I got to ask River a question anyway, because we're about to start talking about a potential transfer portal addition for a team that is in need at this position. And if they get this person, I think it could be very, very interesting for them the rest of the way, because it's exactly what they need. Did I sell that well enough, Ari?
That was really good. You ready?
Okay. I'm ready.
Did I give it away yet?
I can't tell. I see it. It's a box of Jordans, but Travis Scott olive mocha.
I've never worn them, and I feel like we're going to Green Bay, where it's green. These seem to be like that might be because I remember people were making fun of my shoes at the draft or at the
Final Four.
No, not the Final Four. Our live show at the Mandalay Bay last time.
When we were at the Athletic still, yes.
And they were really nice shoes. So I want to make sure that.
Well, that's because one of our listeners came up in brand new cherry Jordan 11s and just outshone us both.
I was wearing like Nike Sakai's. They were really nice. I like shoes. Andy likes shoes, and we both agree that the low Air Jordan 1 is the greatest. Greatest
shoe ever made. I got so mad because Marty Smith got bashed for wearing Jordan 1 lows with a suit at the Masters. And I was like,
well, it is the Masters.
No, the Jordan 1 low is good. It works for any occasion. Now, I would say with a suit, if you consider the Masters a formal occasion, you should wear Jordan 11s because then you get patent leather. But there's no occasion that the Jordan 1 low is not appropriate for.
Yeah. I think it's the most versatile shoe ever that you can wear to dinner with a nice outfit or with gym shorts to the grocery store.
There you go. And that's fashion with Andy and Ari. Now, let's get back into the transfer portal because this is a very, very interesting potential pickup. Trebor Pena, wide receiver, leaving Syracuse, headed to, we don't know, but he's visited Penn State. Miami's interested too. If Trebor Pena were to wind up at Penn State, that could, I think, and I think you agree with me, Ari, be one of the most impactful transfer portal additions this offseason.
It would be. I mean, I don't know if you could ever say more than a quarterback. I mean, like I think like John Mateer is number one, and I think it's kind of hard to
but what did Penn State need? What did Penn State need more than anything? Because they don't need a quarterback. They have Drew Allen.
Yeah. The thing that is so awesome about this conversation, Andy, is that if you are in the chat, you might remember this conversation. If you're listening for the first time, we'll refresh you. But we talked about how elite level wide receivers tend to not go into the portal as much as other elite level players at different positions. And we talked about how Penn State had a dire need for a person who can get open. And and they did get a few dudes in the portal, but nobody that's like bona fide, like unbelievably productive at this level. Right.
Right. At the power conference level. Cause they've got Troy's go-to guy from last year, but
yeah. And they're excited about him.
And they've got Kyron Hudson from UCLA or from USC. Sorry, UCLA in the brain with the Nico stuff. But Kyron Hudson was a very productive receiver at USC last year.
Yeah, he's good. But like in terms of a no doubt about it guy at the position of biggest weakness for them, I think is an unbelievable potential addition.
Well,
so
right,
unbelievable that I think that if this actually goes through, that I would have them number one heading into the season as a team.
Wow. I understand where you're going with that, though, because it is, we like their D-line. We like their offensive line. We love their running backs. Drew Aller, we've talked about him a bunch. We've seen the best of him. We've seen the worst of him. We also know he's not at his ceiling yet. Yes, if they get production out of the receiving core, it would mean a team that is probably as complete as any other team in the country. And so here's what Trebor Pena gets it. So Trebor Pena is not the guy who's going to catch the ball on average 20 yards a catch. He's going to get open and catch a bunch of balls, though. He's going to keep the chains moving. He had 84 catches for 941 yards and 9 touchdowns last year. So good red zone threat. Gets open, keeps chains moving. Like, this is a team that had to throw 100 passes to the tight end last year. And look, they're still going to throw to the tight end even though Tyler Warren's gone. That particular banana stand always has money in it.
Well, and also
Penn State's always got tight ends.
Luke Reynolds, I think, is a really, really good player who might not be famous yet, but might be like Penn State's most productive receiver again. And not because lack of talent at the receiver position, but because of how good he is. So I don't want to he was on my list of most top 10 most likely to break out players this year.
Right. And so asking him to replicate what Tyler Warren did last year is asking too much. Tyler Warren is an alien. Also, Tyler Warren had to do that because they did not have production out of the receiver position. If Kyron Hudson, Devontae Ross, and if they get Trebor Pena, like, what if those guys average 75 catches between them all? All of a sudden, that offense is very productive and very scary.
Penn State was already on some people's number one spot in the way too early top 25. They are certainly hovering in the top 4 range on everybody's. I don't even remember where we put them. I don't know. I can't remember where it all.
I want to say 3 or 4. It was, yeah.
4. And like the way that we did it last time was Andy and I averaged.
Yeah, we're not averaging this time. I think our opinions are about to diverge pretty severely. So we're going to put out separate ones next.
But when you look down the list of players that we're talking about here on Penn State's team, and I don't know, I think, Kyron Hudson's a big addition. Let's just, for the sake of the conversation, put Pena on the list. Luke Reynolds, Drew
Devontae
Aller,
Ross,
Singleton, Katron Allen, Devontae Ross, You have denied Dennis Sutton, who's one of the best edges in the country. Nolan Rucci was a 5-star offensive tackle who is playing right tackle for them. Initially went to Wisconsin and transferred in and is a productive player. When you look at the actual players who have an impact on the game, because we can't look at it like we used to anymore, which is who are the teams that have the top 10 talent rosters. We're looking at the teams that have the most impact players that produce, because the game has changed. I think you can make the case that Penn State has the most balanced and productive group of players in starting positions of anybody in college football. Not to mention they're a team that already traversed the college football playoff, albeit with an easy path, but still to the semifinal, and played a game to go to the national championship that came down to the final drive.
Yeah.
And they retained a lot of their best players, including their quarterback and 2 really good running backs. So they got better in this scenario at the position that they were weakest at. Like, what is the argument against them being number one?
There's not, unless you just say they can't seem to beat Ohio State, and they would have to get through Ohio State at some point.
That I cannot stand, and if you know this about me, Andy, in preseason discourse, we don't rank teams because of what they did in the past. We rank them based on who they are at the moment.
Right.
This is why when people were leaving Texas or getting mad at Texas 2 years ago from being outside of they're being in the top 5, when I put them in the top 5 2 years ago in my preseason or off-season poll, people freaked out. They always blow it. They choke. That's great. That has nothing to do with what we're ranking here. We're ranking, the only thing that we can do in April is rank the players. You can't rank James Franklin's AP record, because if they are better than they've been in the past from a personnel standpoint, then they've got a better chance of winning those games. You can't go with preconceived notions. Same thing with Miami in the top 10 last year. I put Miami in the top 10 last year. They didn't make the playoff, but damn it, they were a pretty good team. Why? Because they had really good players. Penn State's got really good players, man. They got really good players.
So Penn State was a couple minutes away from potentially playing for the national title game. They had the ball, tie game against Notre Dame in the Orange Bowl. The entire Orange Bowl, not one Penn State receiver caught a pass. The only time a Penn State receiver touched the ball in play was when they were doing pitchy woo at the end of the game. Like that's the most damning indictment. And when we had James Franklin on a couple weeks ago, we didn't even ask him about it. He came right out and said it, that they had to be better at that position. So, they get Devontae Ross, they get Kyron Hudson. If they can get Trebor Pena, it's going to be huge. Now, I know you're probably looking at that name, which, by the way, the chat is correct. It is Robert spelled backward. So I don't know if there's a parent named Robert, and he just went, let's reverse it. But you're probably saying, I've heard this name. I heard this name last week associated with a Fran Brown quote. Fran Brown, the head coach of Syracuse. Play the clip from Q Sports Talk. Producer
Coach, you mentioned it earlier, but I think a part of the fan base is worried about, you are comfortable where Syracuse is with NIL, and that didn't play into it.
No. We was going to come out. It didn't play into it at all. But like sometimes people be asking for an outrageous number. Like, right? You're not about to make more than every coordinator and all. Like, man, stop. I ain't. With all due respect to everybody in the country, to every wide receiver, to everybody that's doing all this stuff, like, if you're going to make $2 million at wide receiver, that's to blow a homie over at Ohio State. Ain't nobody else making that money. Giving no wide receiver no $2 million, man, in college. Nah, that ain't me. I ain't doing that. I can't do it. Unless they tell me that we get a chance to have Travis Hunter, he could come back to college and he could come here and play for us, then he going to get some of my check. But I ain't paying nobody $2,000 this year. Not to me. $2 million, whatever. I just say, yeah, we ain't giving nobody that.
Now, people heard this quote and assumed that Trebor Pena asked for $2 million. Now, if you listen to Fran Brown earlier in that interview, he makes it very clear that was not the case. It sounds more like there was some concern about the offense, and Fran Brown was like, hey, you're not a coach, dude. Like, I'll worry about the offense and how that goes. But probably, yeah, he can get more money at Penn State than he was getting at Syracuse. It's not going to be $2 million. I promise they don't have to pay him $2 million to get it.
No. I think that quote got taken out of context, because I think he was just kind of using the $2 million as like a way to illustrate how off the rails some of the discussions have gotten.
Yeah, and like, this is how good you have to be You have to be
Right.
Jeremiah Smith good or Travis Hunter good to even talk about these.
Yeah,
names.
and I don't even know if like the reason he's leaving Syracuse was financially. I'm sure it's always part of the conversation, but I don't know if it
I
was
think it had a lot to do with he might not feel like the offense is in as good of a place with Kyle McCord gone. Like we've seen that with other receivers. Like we saw when Kenny Pickett left Pittsburgh. Why am I blanking on the Blitnikoff winner who went to USC
Jordan
and became
Addison.
a first rounder? Jordan Addison. Yes. So we saw Jordan Addison leave. He went through a spring practice with not Kenny Pickett, and different offensive coordinator was like, you know what? I'm out. So these things happen. But if Penn State can get Trebor Pena, he's exactly the type of receiver, because it feels like in those big games, like I go back to the Michigan game a couple years ago, I go to the Ohio State game last year, like they just cannot keep the chains moving. They can't keep the ball away from the opponent long enough to win those games.
The thing I love about this move too is that like Pena is from the Bronx, and like played in what should be and is Penn State's like primary recruiting footprint too.
It's also
Like,
Syracuse's prime.
No. What I'm saying though is
Yeah.
like it's not just like some random dude that grew up in Sheboygan. You know, I like saying the word.
Yeah.
Sheboygan, and we're going to Wisconsin, but like it's not some random guy who grew up in Henderson, Nevada. You know, like it's a guy
Yeah.
who is from that area. Probably a player that Penn State has become very familiar with, and it seems to like if Penn State was going to go out and get a receiver, like if we would have played the game, like put somebody in the portal for Penn State who would fit and who would be good for them. It's like I think that Pena would have probably come up naturally, even if he never entered it. Just on the merit of who he is, how he plays, and where he's from.
All right. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. But I think if Penn State gets him, the expectations do rise. I don't know that I'd put him at number one. I'm going to let you handle that, Ari. If you want to put him at number one in your next way too early, because we are going to have to re-rank the teams because rosters have changed.
Because the teams are different.
Yeah, situations have changed. Rosters have changed. We'll re-rank probably next week.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to put him one. I don't know if I have to now. Texas is really good, but
well, it means you got to jump Ohio State and Oregon.
I think that I'm going to probably put. Yeah, I think that Penn State will be top two at some. I don't know where yet, but I think that they did enough to move up in my book over those teams at the moment.
Well, we're going to find out. Now, let's talk about schools that have quarterbacks that are not as established as Drew Aller. If you go to On3 right now, I've got a column about 10 quarterbacks that are new starters or could be new starters, because some of these guys have not been declared starters yet, who could be stars this season. Here we go. 10 QBs I can't wait to see. And this list is, I didn't rank these guys in any particular order because I don't know who's going to break out. Now, Arch Manning obviously is the most famous of them. We both had Arch Manning on our top 10 QBs returning list, but he's the only one I have that is also on that list, because everybody on this list is limited film with one exception. The only guy who's got a lot of film as a starter is Mark Gronowski, but that was at the FCS level. He was at South Dakota State. He's at Iowa now. So I'm going to go down this list for our podcast listeners so they know who we're talking about. And then we're going to see, like, who are you the most excited to see of this bunch? So I got CJ Carr at Notre Dame, homegrown starter. We think he's going to start. Mark Gronowski at Iowa, potentially the first competent quarterback play at Iowa in a long, long time. Probably since CJ Beathard. Got Bryce Underwood at Michigan. Arch Manning at Texas. Damon Williams Jr. at Washington. We saw him start the last two games of last season. Gunnar Stockton at Georgia, who we saw start in the Sugar Bowl. Austin Simmons at Ole Miss. Julian Sayin at Ohio State. I've got Jake Merklinger from Tennessee on this list because, again, we don't know that Joey Aguilar is going to start, and Jake Merklinger has a 15-month head start in the offense on him. So I think there's a good chance he winds up starting this year for Tennessee. And we've got Bo Pribula moving from the backup at Penn State, was going to be the starter at Penn State this year, but then Drew Aller decided to come back. Pribula now the starter at Missouri. So, Ari, who are you most excited to see as the QB1 starting quarterback from this list?
Bryce Underwood.
We talked a lot about him yesterday.
Yes. I know that's bad podcasting because we just got done talking about him for 10 minutes yesterday. But
no, it is really interesting, the situation he finds himself in, because I'll reiterate what I said yesterday. Bryce Underwood does not have to go win the Heisman this year. Bryce Underwood has to make Michigan's passing offense average to above average. If he can do that, Michigan is a playoff contender now. If he grows into a Heisman-type quarterback, that's even better.
Yeah. I just think that interesting program, fairly new coach, terrible offense last year, five-star prospect who arrived at Michigan in an atypical way. Michigan getting into the game of NIL in the biggest splash of a way that they've ever done. The fact that the fan base is 2 years removed from, winning a national championship and is starving to compete at a high level again after having a somewhat down year a year ago. The next continued evolution of who Michigan is going to be after Jim Harbaugh's gone. Like, there is a lot there. And then Bryce Underwood is just an awesome player. So, to me, if you know anything about me on this show, my number one thing is always the theater of this stuff. You know what I mean? Like, am I looking forward to seeing his footwork, or am I looking forward to seeing if Michigan is going to be a completely different place as a result of his emergence? Because that's why I always find so compelling. And whenever I make lists of best offseason games, and I put games that aren't just number one versus number two ahead of it, because it's that's not as compelling to me. LSU and Clemson is very compelling to me for other reasons that are outside of just how good the teams are. So for me, not only is this a 5-star prospect, and I'm partial to 5 stars, he's going to an interesting place at a very interesting time. And I don't know if you could be more compelling than that on paper. And I do feel like Arch Manning probably should be number one on most people's list because he's Arch. But I also feel like the intrigue a lot of times is in the unknown. And of all the players on this list, I think that Arch Manning is probably most.
We know what he is. I'm seeing Dante Moore and Caden Salter. Why aren't they on this list? Because we've seen more of them. Not as much as of Dante Moore. We didn't see a ton of Dante Moore
could have been on this list.
We didn't see a ton of him as a UCLA starter. We've seen 3 years worth of Caden Salter as a starting quarterback in the FBS. So I didn't put a lot of the guys who had transferred who had tons of experience. This is guys, with the exception of Gronowski, who has tons of experience, but it's at the FCS level. These are guys who haven't played very much at all. So for me, it's Austin Simmons at Ole Miss. You and I were there in Oxford last year when he got thrown in there against Georgia. And in the situation, the circumstances of that, Georgia has just roared down the field on the first drive, taken a 7-0 lead. Jackson Dart has been hit. I believe he's hit on the sideline, gets knocked out of the game briefly. And Austin Simmons gets thrown in there, and it's oh no, what's this young guy going to do? And all he did was bing, 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 just take him right down the field against the Georgia defense. And that is enough to give me confidence that this guy can do this against anybody. And I realize one drive, I'm putting probably way too much stock in that. But I'm excited to see what he can do.
But I don't know that it was even the result of the drive as much as it was the poise in which he showed during it. It wasn't okay, they scored. It was the vibe of it is I got this, guys. And it's there's not a lot of people who are going to look down the barrel of Georgia in one of the biggest games in program history at home, during a very uncertain scenario and be I'm ready for this. And honestly, Ole Miss rolled. They beat the crap out of Georgia that day. But I think a large part of that too was the stabilizing, touchdown that they were able to score. When they did there, it was kind of we're better.
Oh, it was a major tone setter. It was raining. This could have gone real bad for Ole Miss the way the game started. And Austin Simmons calmed everything down, and then Dart comes back out of the locker room, and all of a sudden it's it's a completely different game. So Yeah, I'm really excited about Austin Simmons. He's 6'4", 220. He's a lefty. Like, he's fast. I'm very excited to see him. And can I throw a bonus one in there?
Sure.
Damon Williams Jr. at Washington. Let me read you. So he started the final 2 games of the year. They obviously lost to Oregon. They're not as good as Oregon at Washington. We know that. They were rebuilding last year. They weren't even close to Oregon talent-wise. But he played well against them. And then he played really well in the bowl game. Washington's defense did not play well in the bowl game. But 2 starts. Williams completed 83% of his passes, averaged 11.1 yards per attempt. This is against Oregon and Louisville, with 5 touchdowns and 1 interception. Like, this is the guy that Jedd Fisch had handpicked to bring to Arizona. When Jedd Fisch left Arizona, Damon Williams followed him to Washington. And look, Will Rogers wasn't bad as Washington's quarterback last year, but they decided to move to the future and start Williams those last 2 games. And holy crap, I'm excited to see what this guy becomes.
I think that we are always so beholden to like what was last year. That's going to be true again this year. And I think Washington could be the perfect illustration of like, not so fast, my friend, to honor Lee Corso. Like, they have a very, very young talent, good, young, talented quarterback that is super special and exciting. And I'm super excited to see how that manifests.
So here's their schedule. So they've got Ohio State and Michigan and Illinois, because we're going to consider Illinois one of the biggies of the Big Ten this year as well, because they bring back a lot. They have Oregon at the end of the season. Obviously, that is a huge rivalry, Washington and Oregon. Can we see Washington maybe winning 9 games this year, Ari? Like, win one of those? Like, I just mentioned those 4. Could they win one of those and then win the rest? Is that possible?
I think that is possible. I think Jedd Fisch is a good coach, guys. Like, not hot anymore. 1 year, you're not hot. But still think he's, shown some good stuff. So I don't know. I haven't.
Yeah.
Good quarterback, good coach is a pretty good combination.
I like it. I'm going to throw one more in there too, Ari. A guy who we talked a ton about during the playoff because of a situation that he probably really couldn't control much of. Bo Pribula going to Missouri. We when we had James Franklin on a couple weeks ago, he brought that up again, where like he's not mad at Bo Pribula because of the way the situation went down, where Pribula had to leave right before the playoff run. He's just mad at the system and the way the timing worked out. But we thought Bo Pribula would be the starting quarterback for Penn State this year until Drew Aller said he was coming back. We got to see Bo Pribula a little bit. So he had the package, and we got to see him as Bo Pribula the athlete, Bo Pribula the runner. But remember when Aller went out against Wisconsin, we got to see Bo Pribula the quarterback. And that makes me very excited for what he can be at Missouri.
Yeah. There's no question that, he is slippery, right? Like, and Bo Pribula, the runner, was a really important piece to Penn State's offense as a change of pace kind of guy. But in terms of like the actual spirit of the list, which is film and knowing exactly what you're getting, Bo Pribula, the quarterback, is a very unknown entity.
Yeah, he is. And now, look, Luther Burden's gone. We don't know what Missouri is going to look like exactly. But I have faith in Eli Drinkwitz to put pretty good offense on the field. I'm excited to see what this is because, look, Missouri's been a good team the last couple of years. As SEC schedules go, this is not the roughest SEC schedule. Mm-hmm. Look, the way Kansas ended last season, that's probably not a team I want to see in week 2. But South Carolina early, Alabama early.
That's the easiest
Missouri
SEC
is.
schedule in existence, by the way. Let's be nice.
It's the easiest one you could get. You're right. You're right. It's still not easy though. South Carolina, Alabama, Auburn, Texas A&M, Oklahoma. Like that's not easy.
And I still stand by it. I'm not saying it's easy, but I'm saying in comparison to some of the draws, I don't see LSU, I don't see Florida, I don't see Georgia on there. Like there's a lot of teams that they could be playing that they're not playing. That would have made that more difficult. But I think Oklahoma's going to be good this year. Auburn's going to be more difficult than they've been in the past. Alabama, Auburn, and back-to-back weeks is never easy. But that's a manageable, traversable schedule. Is that a word, traversable?
I think so. If it's not, we'll make it one.
Electric.
All right. We got a press conference. Just got the advisory for it. Bill Belichick and Bubba Cunningham, head coach and athletic director of North Carolina. TCU and North Carolina are going to open the 2026 season in Dublin. So that's your Ireland game for next year. This year's 2025 Ireland game is Farmageddon. Iowa State, Kansas State. Big 12 conference game.
The European mind cannot comprehend Farmageddon.
No. I hope it's like it was 2 years ago when it was in the snow. I don't think we're going to get snow in August in Dublin, but
yeah, that would be pretty. Well, I mean, we got to bring America to these European people, and I feel like
so. If Bill Belichick has a decent first year at North Carolina, like, is he the coach in Ireland or is he the New York Giants coach at that point?
I don't know. Probably the New York Giants coach.
Because I mean, that seems like the logical thing. Like, the Giants have not done much to help Brian Daboll. They're probably going to fire Brian Daboll if it's bad again this year. And Bill Belichick is royalty in that franchise.
I always hope, for our standpoint, for our sake, that people are in it for the long haul. Especially interesting.
Oh, I want Bill Belichick to be a college football coach for 10 years. I would love that. But I don't think my brain has processed that he's a college football coach yet. Like, I think I need to see the TCU game, the one this year that is in Chapel Hill. I think I need to see that first before I can truly believe it.
Yeah. I do love the list of things that if you wanted to explain America to Europeans, like Farmageddon would be in the top 10 somewhere, right? Like, would it not be?
Why'd you call it I just did a British accent. They're in Ireland.
Good luck.
I don't think I can do the Irish accent. Even though I've been watching Mobland and Pierce Brosnan with the just amazing Irish accent. Like, I don't think I can do it.
I did watch that movie where they were in Ireland and Colin Farrell was in it, and he said every single time, like, Colin Farrell was a annoying friend, and the other friend said, every time you talk to me, I don't want to be your friend anymore. And anytime you talk to me, I'm cutting a finger off. Have you seen that movie? It was nominated for Best Picture, and it was just an illustration of how far we've dropped in the world of movies. But I'm not going to drag us down into those.
Well, I'm certainly not going to try to do a Colin Farrell Irish accent because that is his native accent. So,
I was like, he is really good at it. I was like, it makes sense.
Yeah.
He's talking.
But yeah, Farmageddon. Wait, Kansas State and first you have to explain the concepts of the state of Kansas and the state of Iowa.
Right.
Then you have to explain the concept of ag school versus liberal arts college. And there's a lot going on there.
Yeah. Just explaining Iowa to them in general would be fun.
Well, I mean, it's like you guys with potatoes, but with corn.
Exactly.
I don't think it's that hard.
Yeah.
So, but no, I'm very excited about that game because it's a conference game. I love. There's a line for it already. Kansas State -2. I don't know who's going to win that game. It is two good returning quarterbacks in Rocco Becht and Avery Johnson.
We're taking the under on that though, right? I mean, let's be honest.
I think so.
The game is 17-10, and you know it. Show those Europeans what real physical football looks like.
Well, like the Georgia Tech Florida State game went over, I think.
Oh, it did?
I'm pretty sure. I do not think the Northwestern Nebraska game did. That was really what got Scott Frost fired. He didn't get fired right after that game, but it sent him on his way.
Yeah.
All right.
So just wanted to tell you this on the show because we are a few minutes removed from talking about Trebor Pena, but Pete Nakos just posted some intel that Pena is going to, or has visits scheduled to UCLA, USC, and Miami. So it's not
a done deal.
It's not a done deal. And look at UCLA getting in the mix. I don't know if I'm supposed to.
I'd say they saved some money, but they didn't.
Are we supposed to read premium content on the podcast? I don't know if I made a mistake, but if you're listening, you just got premium information from On3 for free. Congratulations.
Hey, listen, you hang with us for 54 minutes. We're going to give you a little bonus. Plus, we want you to know what you're getting with an On3 subscription. It's a lot of value there.
There is
a lot of value with the On3 subscription.
Yeah, Pete Nikos is like worth the price of admission just this week. So, and then hopefully you'll stop by and read some of our stuff because I think it's pretty good.
Yeah. Ari, let's put a bow on the Nico saga, though. I do feel like we've been... this feels like it's lasted about 3 months. It's been 12 days. So...
it's been a great...
we talked about this. We talked about this when it all blew up. And people were calling Nikos names, and people were still mad at me for leaving Nico off my top 10 quarterbacks list. And we said we needed to create a best tweets of the Nico saga segment.
We've been stashing them.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Nothing inspires creativity like a juicy offseason college football story. So, producer River, hit us with the first of the truly great Nico tweets. Here it is from Chris Marler, Vern Dumquist on Twitter. Honestly shocked that the 5-star from the other side of the country wearing Cookie Monster sleeping pants to 7-on-7 events wasn't loyal to this program. And I mean shocked. Can we go in the trust tree for a second, Ari?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, I want to be in the trust tree. I'm gonna put my hand up here. I actually thought the pajama pants thing was gonna take off big. Like, I thought that was gonna be huge for Nico. I thought he was gonna be a star at Tennessee, and he was gonna sell so many units of pajama pants.
I really do.
I legitimately believe that when he was a recruit.
That it reminds me of the Step Brothers scene. Like when they're in the office and they're doing the interviews and they're wearing tuxedos, right?
Yes.
And everyone's like, what the hell are these people doing tuxedos? And then they let out the fart. And then like Seth Rogen goes, now that, in light of the new information, the tuxedos seem kind of messed up. Like, it's like the what you're wearing looks worse after the fact.
Right.
Than it does as a result of what happened. But the pajama pants would have been cool if he won the Heisman. You don't think that people would have loved him?
I think he could have had a collab with like Heisman trophies all over the pajama pants and would have sold like 3 million units. I'm telling you, like, of my predictions that have gone hilariously wrong, that's one of the worst.
Let's go to the next one.
This is from Kevin Carter. I'm assuming this is a picture of Kevin Carter and his wife with Nico. Thank you, Nico. You beat Iowa at the Cheez-It. You beat Oklahoma for Coach Heupel. You beat Bama on the third Saturday in October. You took us to our first CFP game. Godspeed. Good luck at Pepperdine. This is before anybody knew where he was going. And for those who don't know, Nico played volleyball in high school. So, like, it could have conceivably gone to Pepperdine to play volleyball. And, like, when you guys sent this to me, my first thought was, why are we bagging on the idea of going to college in Malibu? That sounds amazing.
Yeah, actually, Pepperdine has been destroyed, hasn't it?
Oh.
A lot of Pepperdine is, like, gone.
From the fires?
Fire, yeah.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Oh, that's terrible.
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know how extensive it was, but, like, we drove by it when we were there after the fire, and it was, like, the entire,
that is awful.
That big, beautiful lawn.
Okay, well, now that's less funny.
No, but it is funny because he is from California. And Pepperdine's, don't worry. If there's one thing I know for sure is
right. You're still looking over the Pacific Ocean. You got it's on a cliff. It's amazing.
Life finds a way. Malibu will find a way to be pretty. I promise.
All right, let's go with the next one here, River. This is from Matt. I commend Nico Iamaleava for leaving Tennessee to get the NIL for his true market value. Not many guys are humble enough to admit they deserve a pay cut. There were a lot of versions of this, but I think this was the best written of this tweet.
Yeah, he's like Peter Pan. He's just stealing from the rich to give to the poor. I don't know.
Robin Hood.
Robin Hood. Why do I keep saying Peter Pan?
But because they both wear green, like the Robin Hood cartoon where he's a fox. He essentially wears the same costume as Peter Pan.
Yeah.
That's why. What's next, River? Oh, it's the Venn diagram from Cade. So I'm having wicked dreams of leaving Tennessee. I hear Santa Monica. I swear it's calling me. The Chaperone Nico Iamaleava Venn diagram. First of all, Venn diagram humor will never not be funny to me. And the fact that Nico basically living out a Chaperone song called Pink Pony Club, also never not funny.
I got to be honest, because I don't know anything about anything. I didn't really get that one. I don't know who that human being is.
Just play some Chaperone songs for your daughter, like you were playing Sabrina Carpenter songs for her until you realized all the dirty words were in there.
Person?
Chaperone?
I don't know.
She's a very popular singer.
Does she?
You've heard "Hot to Go." You don't know if you may not know you've heard it, but you've heard it.
Okay.
HOTTOGO. You can,
Yeah.
So,
no, not ringing a bell.
That song is called Pink Pony Club, though. And
okay.
That's
So now I'm
that's
gonna
what makes it funny.
With my daughter in the car, and they're going to be disgusting lyrics that I didn't know, or like I did with Sabrina Carpenter.
I mean, yeah, Chaperone will drop an F-bomb. Feminine Phenomenon has a lot of F-bombs.
Yeah.
I have a teenage daughter. I hear these songs.
Yeah.
This is the best one. Retweeted by Lane Kiffin. Santiago is the one who put it out originally. It's the Lane Kiffin photo from when he was going to leave for USC, when he's in Tennessee's offices about to leave, slumped against the wall, and they've replaced Lane Kiffin's face with a giant Nico head. Just perfect. Everything you ever wanted in a tweet right here, and Lane Kiffin with the facepalm emoji retweet. It does not get better than that.
I'm surprised nobody put Nico's face on Urban Meyer eating pizza. Like I wonder if that would have been a good one.
I mean, if Ohio State or Michigan State had been involved, it would have been perfect.
Yeah, that's true. The Tennessee part of it made it funny.
My friend George Schroeder took that photo. Not that photo. He took the Urban Meyer eating pizza photo, but the Lane Kiffin one, like the Lane Kiffin leaving for USC night is more bizarre in retrospect. Like, why did Lane Kiffin bother going back into the office at Tennessee? Just send for your stuff.
Yeah.
But
it's crazy sport.
Hey, leaving Tennessee for USC to replace Pete Carroll, leaving Tennessee for UCLA to replace Ethan Garber's totally the same thing.
Who do you think hates the state of California more, Norman, Oklahoma, or Knoxville, Tennessee?
Still Norman, Oklahoma. Though Norman, Oklahoma is finding it pretty funny right now.
Yes.
Even like, because we had the Ben Arbuckle brisket photo, like their new OC at Oklahoma posted. It was not a great photo. I think the brisket was probably better than the photo made it look, because the smoke ring on the brisket was perfect, which suggests to me that Ben Arbuckle knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
We got one more, River. I know we got one more. Nico checking his McDonald's bag for NIL money, and of course there's a giant middle finger in the middle of it. One more. There it is. The Mount Rushmore getting terrible financial advice. 4 pictures. Nico Iamaleava, Toys R Us, Blockbuster Video, and Circuit City. I will never forget the story of the Blockbuster Video executives when they are given the opportunity to buy Netflix, and they're like, nah.
Yeah, like Blockbuster, I don't know if it was, financial advice, but like they fumbled the bag big, because they could have started their own competitive streaming service without buying Netflix, and that would have won because of the brand recognition at the time.
100%.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of like Steve Ballmer's video when he was the CEO of Microsoft, like mocking the iPhone because it didn't have a keyboard.
Or when Sports Illustrated had the chance to buy ESPN.
Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't know that was the thing.
Yeah, it was one of the worst decisions ever. Or when the Big East didn't take Penn State. There's a lot of those.
That's funny.
Ari.
Oh man, well, I'm gonna miss you. I'm gonna miss talking about where you're going, Nico. But thanks so much for the week.
Yes, 12 days of fun. And look, obviously we'll be following it all through the offseason. There will be more twists and turns to this. But tomorrow, dear Andy, dear Ari, we'll get some draft questions. It's gonna be great. We're gonna get you ready for the draft, and we are headed to Green Bay, and we'll be on the ground in Green Bay Thursday and Friday. Cannot wait. So let's talk a little draft tomorrow with questions from you. We'll talk to you then.